has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and he has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and
Owusu community, specifically Okaikwe North constituency, and we are here to speak to some constituents to know what their major challenges are. Can you please tell us some of the challenges you are facing here?
Challenges are too many. If I say, I will say it, unless you go to the grounds so that I can show you properly. But right now, if you look here, for instance, the road is not good, and the main road too is not good. So, I don't know.
Is road the only challenge?
It's not only the roads, many things, like even the school, the Presby school is not good. You have a big drainage passing at the back of the school. That drainage, the way the drainage is big, it can kill people. Or how would I put it? It's like suicide. You know what I mean? Yeah, all these things, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, boss, let me come to you. Can you also tell us some of the challenges you are facing here?
Charlie, they are not doing anything. No. They are not doing anything. One. I'm a Gani. Easy, Yabiana. Back fair fite. Come back, come and yanya beer, come and review and be come. Ho, what guy come about? What vote to?
All right, boss, let me come to you. Can you also tell us some of the challenges?
The main challenges is the road. For instance, if you can see yourself when you were coming, they constructed it, they got to a certain place, they stopped. You can see how the erosion is causing problem. And the other thing is the drainage my other guy spoke about. The drainage is a very critical issue because just behind the school, we have a very huge drainage over there. Someone started it, they've left it.
Who exactly started it?
I think the assemblyman, the former the assemblyman, the current one, he started it, and right now the thing is there. Nobody is willing to continue it. And it's a major issue. And when you go to the place, where the drainage, someone has built, there is a church, Greater Works. They've built their fence wall to block the main drainage. So when the water comes all the way to the down, it has nowhere to go. Then it causes flood into people's home and all that thing. The MP, they are all aware. We are here when it's time for election. They'll bring the ballot box. They'll be announced we should come and vote. Right now the voting, we don't know the use of the voting. So next time when they bring the ballot box, nobody is going to vote. They should come out and vote for themselves because right now we are fed up of voting. We are fed up. We don't know when our vote, we realize that the vote that we voted is benefiting us. We are not asking them to give us money or anything. All we need is proper development, proper roads, proper schools. You just go to and have a walk around the school, the main school building. It is nothing better to write about, you know. And how long can we continue this way? You see, so it's very sad. It's very sad.
All right, so this is a major road here in Abofu, and to my left it leads to the Achimota news station, and to my right it leads to Abelinkwe, and right ahead of me leads to the Achimota school. But as you can see, there's a gutter here, a very big gutter, which is a drainage system that is linked to the Odo River. And whenever it rains, water is unable to flow freely here because, as you can see, there is the gutter is filled with filth. It's filled with weeds, and I have a resident here with me who is going to tell us more about the situation here.
I'm glad you guys are here today. In fact, the issue at hand here, someone started construction of this thing, and as you can see, this is a major road. When it rains, the amount of water that flows from this side to the far end is very huge. And you can see the size of this drainage. Someone also has constructed a wall blocking the drainage. So whatever water that comes from here has nowhere to go. And at the end of the day, it ends up in people's homes and all that. If we can walk closely to that end, you will see that the fence wall is blocked, has blocked the waterway. So we don't know. Whenever it's time to vote, the MPs will come around. Just even look at this school. Look at the school. See, look at what is going on here. This school can collapse anytime. Look, just see. If you're big boss, I don't know if you can see what I'm seeing. This school is just like a death trap. But our major problem here is this drainage. They should make sure they construct this drainage so that this road will not collapse. Yes. Because as you can see, the erosion has even started taking place. Yes. Formerly, it's not used to be like this, but now see, the erosion is taking place. And I don't know what's going on. Nothing goes on in this community. We have bad roads. Our drainage are not good.
But for how long has the situation been like this?
This has been here more than 6 years. It's been more than 6 years. And I don't know when. If today is today that they will come and do it, I can't tell. 5 years. You see, and we don't know. We don't know what's going on in this community. Nothing goes on in this community. When you complain, they say you talk too much. We don't need anything from anybody. All we need is proper roads, good drainage. That's all. The residents around here will attest to it that anytime it rains, their homes will flood. Because what? A church also has blocked the main drainage. So the water is not able to flow into the Odo River. So anytime it rains, it ends up in people's home. So once you guys are here, I'm hoping they are listening or they will be watching us to come and do something about it, because this thing is not good. Right. As you see, just look at how the whole place is filled with filth. It's very bad. Right. It's very bad. Right.
All right, so earlier a gentleman spoke about the fact that a wall has been constructed and it's preventing the free flow of water inside the gutter that is linked to the Odo River. So I have another resident here. He is a fire safety officer as well, and he's going to tell us more about the situation. Please, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we have a problem here about the water drainage. Before then, we have a straight road drainage here to go through. But before then, they have come to divert the water through different ways. So if the water comes, it cannot go straight to the Odo River. This is the problem we are having now. So we need something must be done any moment from now. Other than that, we have to flow all over the residents here, and then they will not be safe. We have been coming here to rescue them, to do any other things. So we need the gutter to be constructed so that things can flow easier. This is our problem at the moment.
But it looks like clearly we can see there's a wall there. Yeah. So even if the gutter is constructed, how is the water going to flow through the gutter?
It will depend. The safety men have to come, the construction men have to come and then demarcate what they have to do. Because at the moment, this is what I'm seeing, but those people who have to do the construction, they have to come so that they know how to construct it, how it should flow easier for the pressure to go easier. They have to come out now and do it. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
At the moment, the wall must be broken so that the water can have its own course and go. If the wall is not broken, the people here can never have peace. Sometimes the school children used to disturb them and enter through their room because of the fence wall. So when the wall is got broken, then the water can go through now to the door. Even the water has got its own course now, we can see clear. So this wall must be broken, then the water passes its own into the Odo River. Finish. Before we shall be free here.
So is this somebody's apartment?
Yeah, it's somebody's apartment.
And have you spoken to the owner?
They are aware, and they are aware, and the other church, one church also here is also aware. They are all aware. They just don't bother.
Alright, so as a special aide to the former MP, would you say you are satisfied with the incumbent MP's accomplishments so far?
Yeah, honestly speaking, to be very realistic than what is going on. Since from us, my boss was voted out from power. And this NDC MP, when the people voted him into power, nowhere she is to be found. And honestly speaking, what she told the people that she's come to do, we see nothing in the community. we see nothing in the community. And honestly speaking, when my boss was in power, he's a member of parliament. He lobbied a lot, the road, infrastructure.
When it comes to a relationship with the
water, they say, is life, and the absence of this necessary commodity grinds life to a halt. In the small town of Timpila in the East Mampusi district of the Northeast region, residents have to resort to contaminated water for drinking, cooking, and other daily activities. The unbearable situation has plunged them into serious health conditions. Ladi tells Pan African News how she's been grappling with the water situation.
Adikurunti ayesano kese ye nsuo bia wo ho. Yansa ye nya nsuo no. Ye nya bi se ye niema. Ya ne pap ye ne ebura. Ye kuro man nsuo nyina ene ename. Nti ani kwan bia be fa so ayeteme ye be ka se ye nsansan nsuo no. Yare de bebre. Yare de yan kampo. Ekuro ha ni ekolanto uni penyum kuro untumi nduru busumi na wanko asupil. Tambia yada asupil. Ensu enye bibia ensuo no. Ensu enye yepe ene edi nyum. Because un fansuo no kofia untumi nya aduane. Ensuo na edi aduane. Ensuo na edi bibia. Yesu ye nsuo papa bia wo baabi. Yensuo nyina no. Se eyere no kura wo hokora still ye benum ne sa na ebe ye ne den. Because yantumi fro ha nkokro bi so ensensuo entumi famba ha fanye adwuma. Ze sensuo na na ye yusu. Ade ye be ka kira ba ne se wo hwe anim. Na se say ye hu no ye hu ye mobro. Nti omo hwe anim na enye nsuo pa. Na yesi ye no. Omo hwe anim na omo maya papa na omo maya bohum. Se na be ya ye no mbo ne nyina entumi mbom endidi duane baako. Razak
Yakubu tells Pan African News that they compete daily with animals for water, a condition that proves hazardous.
People fetching this water is that because we don't have any water in any place. Because our kettles, all the kettles and everything, we are taking this water. So we have no place to get any water. This is the water that we are taking. We are using this water for washing, this water for cooking, drinking, and they say that we should protect ourselves from diseases. How can we protect ourselves from diseases? Because how can you take this water with kettles, everything, with other animals, and you can't fall sick?
So you people will be falling sick here?
We people will be falling sick. We can't even get 2 weeks. Even the elder people, they are sending them to the hospitals. And there too, the road too is not good. We are pleading to the district assembly and then MPs and then government to come and help us with this, our issues, so that we can take part in Ghanaians, so that we can get something benefit. This water, we are pleading to them because the water is not good for us, but we don't know what to do. We are still taking it. So we are pleading to the government.
Water for drinking, cooking, and other daily activities. The unbearable situation has
to come and help us with this problem so that we can be able to be in the site.
All right. Thank you very much.
Serious health conditions.
Hello there. Welcome to Around Town. My name is Bless Alomaso. On today's edition of Around Town, we take our cameras to the Northeast region, specifically Timpila, in the East Mampusi district, or the Nalerigu Gambaga constituency. Now, what you see behind me is somewhat or what looks like a flowing river, but it serves so many purposes to the people of this community. But the shocker is that the people of this community, Timpila, they drink from this water. And the animals, as you can see around here, also drink from the same source. I'm going to ask them the reasons for which they have resorted to drinking this water and not properly treated pipe-borne water.
Adikurunti ayesano kese ye nsuo bia wo ho. Yansa ye nya nsuo no. Ye nya bi se ye niema. Ya ne pap ye ne ebura. Ye kuro man nsuo nyina ene ename. Nti ani kwan bia be fa so ayeteme ye be ka se ye nsansan nsuo no. Yare de bebre. Yare de yan kampo. Ekuro ha ni ekolanto uni penyum kuro untumi nduru busumi na wanko asupil. tam bia yɛda asopin ensu enye bibia ensuo no ensu enye yepe ene edi nwum because won fa nsuo no nkofia wontimi nya aduane ensuo na edi ye aduane ensuo na edi ye bibia yesu ye nsuo papa bia wo baabi yensuo nyina no se eyere no kura wo hokora still ye benum ne sa na ebe ye ne dan because yentimi fro ha nkokro bi so ensensuo entimi fa mba ha fa nya adwuma ze sensuo na na ye yusu ade ya be ka kira ba ne se wo hwe
he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and he has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land.
Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us on Pan-African Television. Wherever you are, we are grateful to you for choosing the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. And we are live. We are live on several platforms. We are also live on our social media platforms, Pan-African Television on Facebook, Pan-African TV on YouTube. If you use any of those platforms, take a moment and share comments on the discussions we're having and we'll be having this morning on the show. Thank you once again for choosing us. The show is live on Radio Gold, but also live on Ahunto 92.3 FM here in the Greater Accra region and several other affiliates across the country. We're grateful to all of you currently tuning to us. My name is Sena Nombo. Today, we are talking about the fight against illegal mining. Question, is it collapsing? Is the fight against illegal mining collapsing? The background to this discussion, which is taking over there with this week, has to do with the return of Aisha Huang, this time around as Russia Huang. There are contradicting accounts of exactly what she's been up to. The immigration claims she's not been here for, she's been here for less than a month. In fact, she came in the middle of August. By September 2nd, they had actually found and arrested her. There are those who claim she's been here about 6 months after she was deported. So we're talking about taking you back to the Galamsey side. How is it working out? Are we winning the fight? And then we'll move on to the discussion around the comments made by the managing director of the IMF. She says, our current challenges are not due to bad policies. They are due to external issues. External shocks are the reasons we have come to the IMF. Well, there are those who disagree with her. And of course, she's spoken exactly the same language that government has been speaking. So, the accounts will say, "Okay, once a month," and so they are quite happy with it. But we'll be discussing that. And then we'll end with, you remember what happened the last time we were discussing Mr. Hobson-Adoye's comments about that was in support of the candidature of Mr. Kojo Alan-Chemanting. And the directive that came from the party that said that we have not opened nominations yet. So we will not tolerate that form of open campaigning, especially from executives of the party. What do you do then when the leader of the party is the one that endorses a candidate? That's exactly what President Akufo-Addo has done. He's not only endorsed his communications director at the Jubilee House for the parliamentary primaries, but also for the general election. So we'll be talking about the endorsement of Mr. Uginahin in our very last discussion. Joining me this morning for the discussion, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jnr. is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. There is Solomon Owusu, Mr. Solomon Owusu, who is a member of the MPP's communication team, and Dr. Clement Apak, Member of Parliament for Builsa South. We will be joined by Nii Yarboi Annan, who is a financial analyst, to complete our panel for today. Thank you very much for choosing us once again. Let's start off right now on the discussions and start with the matter of the fight against illegal mining. Is it collapsing? And I'll start from my immediate left, Dr. Clement Apak. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Sena.
Let me say good morning to viewers and listeners. It's been a while. I've been out and about on various assignments. As you know, the Public Accounts Committee usually holds sittings to look at the content of the Auditor General's report. We are just about concluding the 2019, and then we will delve into 2020 and hopefully 2021. Ghanaians will be scandalized. What is in the public domain is only a tip of the iceberg. We will get to that. Let me say good morning to my co-panelists. I think this is the first time I'm meeting Solomon. Yes. I've been monitoring his exploits. As for my senior here, as I've always said, he's one of my mentors. And it is good that we always have the opportunity to dissect issues of national importance. Sena, Galamsey, as we know, in English is defined as illegal mining, be it small or large scale. As long as you are not engaging in mining our mineral resources, in this case gold, legitimately and legally, what you do will be termed as Galamsey. The truth is that we have contended with this issue for a number of years, and various governments have done their best to try and address it for obvious reasons. We know the consequences of this illegal mining and how detrimental the outcome is to us as human beings and to the natural environment. If you look at the current state of the so-called fight against illegal mining, it is a hoax. I have said this not today, and I'll demonstrate why I say it is a hoax. What has simply happened under the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led MPP government is that they fictitiously claimed to be fighting the menace, when in fact what they were doing was to get rid of the ordinary folk who were supposedly engaged in it and to replace them with party apparatchiks, friends and family. And then they then go on to form this district mining committees. And if you know what the district mining committees are doing, by and large they only sit and give away concessions to themselves and their friends and families and party gurus and apparatchiks. So that is why I say it is fraudulent to say that this government is even fighting Galamsey. Look, Sena, the reason why Ghanaians ought to be worried and why we need to call this government out is based on the conduct of government officials, the conduct of state security personnel, and how they have found a way to bamboozle the rest of us, even in the glare of direct evidence that there is a fight called a fight against Galamsey or illegal small-scale mining. It doesn't exist. Look, we all can appreciate some of the recent occurrences, and I'll come to Aisha Wang. We remember how the secretary to the commission that was put together was caught on tape, ostensibly taking, bribe, and to allow for, some entities to be able to get away with engagement in this illegal small-scale mining. We know of instances where senior party officials, at least in the central region, were accused of being involved. We know of so-called equipment that was seized, including bulldozers and what have you. And up to today, we don't still have a conclusive record about where the seized equipment went to and who was responsible. The gentleman in the center of that scandal, Owusu, today is walking free. From my sources, he's even been reinstated. He's playing the role that he used to play. We know of instances where even national security personnel who were assigned to try and combat this have been reported to be engaged in the practice. We know of instances where even DCEs, a recent case has to do with the DC of Elimbele, where there is a tussle between him and the district police command around Galamsey, the seizure of an excavator, and how that excavator, you know, disappeared and reappeared, to the extent that the DCE has now been arrested and is being taken through processes. So it is very clear, that there has never been a fight against illegal small-scale mining. What has happened is the hounding away of the legitimate, I would say legitimate in quotes, small-scale miners, and the imposition of much more organized small-scale miners who are working for their paymasters. This is what is happening. And you see, Aisha Wong, her re-emergence is the classic example to demonstrate how this fight was a hoax to begin with. This is a woman who was arrested for engaging in Galamsey. She was being taken through processes, only for us to hear from high government officials, including a senior minister, after, strangely, the state, through the Attorney General's department, had decided that Ghana as a state was no longer interested in the case. Then we heard she had been deported. Then the senior minister tried to justify that deportation, making the claim that, you know, putting somebody like that through the processes and putting somebody like that in jail was going to affect the relationship between Ghana and China. He even went on to make the rather embarrassing suggestion that is jailing Aisha Wong going to resolve our problem, to paraphrase, or was it going to put bread on our table? A senior minister, somebody who is named a senior minister, very thick in the affairs of government, with a lot of muscle and say, had this to say. Granting that, you know, Ghanaians, as always, we accepted that indeed this woman, you know, christened the queen of Galamsey. We had finally gotten rid of her. She had been deported to China. Only for us to wake up and hear that she had re-emerged and that she had been arrested. Not because our system caught her at the border coming in, or not because our system, in terms of Ghana card and the issuance of a version for foreigners, was able to detect her. Because she had gone to try to retrieve monies owed to her, and somebody raised an alarm on the basis of which she was arrested. So let nobody try to take credit that it was state security apparatus, be it the BNI, CID, or it was the NIA through their database. No. This was just a matter of good fortune. It was a matter of good fortune. It was accidental. Because from the records that some of us are seeing and hearing, some of us are even beginning to believe that the woman was not even deported. I am beginning to believe very strongly that Aisha Wong was never deported, that we were hoodwinked, that she remained and she was low-key doing what she does best, polluting our water bodies with mercury, destroying our rivers, destroying our forests, like they all do. And it is just because she was exposed by virtue of her boldness to go after somebody who was indebted to her. What does that tell you about our system and our nation? You deport a criminal, the criminal is back in your country, or perhaps you didn't even deport her at all, and has the boldness to go back and re-engage in those horrible, destructive, and reprehensible pillaging of our natural environment. So the Aisha Wong issue is the icing on the cake. Because if truly we were making some serious gains in the fight against Galamsey, and we are not, just look at the river bodies. You can see the water is as brown as Milo. And in some cases, it is thicker than condensed milk. This is how polluted our water bodies are. Go to the forest. And it is not just even confined today to the southern parts of this country. Where I come from, the northern sector, it is happening. It is happening in a lot more wider range than even before the so-called fight against Galamsey. But as I said, Aisha Wang, her resurgence is the classic conclusion in this fraudulent excuse of fighting Galamsey. Because if we were fighting Galamsey, there is no way that woman will have the courage to come back and even have the boldness to continue from where she left off. And why she has been able to do that is a question that government officials must respond. I have said that the Minister for Interior, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Minister for National Security, the NIA, National Identification Authority boss, these four have serious questions to answer, because her presence clearly indicates that they are not up to scratch in terms of their responsibilities. And we cannot accept that. This issue of taking her through the court processes and what have you, we've seen it before. And there's nothing to tell me that we can trust the system this time on. It was the same Attorney General's department which was prosecuting her. The same National Security was involved. Ministry of Interior definitely was involved because she's a foreigner. Foreign Affairs definitely was involved. So Ghanaians cannot have faith and trust that the same group of persons, the same entities, which failed to do the bidding of Ghana, who are still there. Thankfully, the president has not done any changes. He has refused to reshuffle. So besides the Attorney General, and he was even a Deputy Attorney General, so he cannot be an innocent participant. He's an active participant. So what some of us are calling for is an independent public inquiry. Because this woman's presence and what she has done and the history and what we are seeing tells us that our system is compromised. And who knows how many more of her type are in the system. Professor Kwesi Pratt Jnr has even gone a step further to indicate that the woman is a Chinese state spy. And I have no reason to doubt him. And we are hearing all kinds of stories that she has sex tapes that she is using to blackmail high public officials. Are we going to sit by to allow this one woman to hold an entire nation to ransom? And since we cannot trust those who are at the helm of affairs, the only other avenue is to demand and ask for a national public inquiry so that we can get to the bottom of this issue. It is not just about Galamsey anymore. It is also about the safety and security of this nation. And we cannot sit by and allow this woman to do what she did, which she has come to continue. So, if you want my short answer to this long narrative, the point I'm trying to make is that the fight against Galamsey under Akufo-Addo Bawumia was a hoax then, and it's a hoax now. They have lost the capacity to wage the fight because they themselves, their assigns and associates, apparatchiks, party boys and girls, are complicit. And that is why Galamsey has actually exacerbated. It has not reduced, it has expanded to the northern parts of this country. Upper East, Upper West, you name it. Even in my own constituency, bordering with Builsa North, at Kadema, they are doing it. If you go to the neighboring one, Yarba Kubore, they are doing it there. If you go to the Upper West, the Uchao area, it is everywhere. Everywhere. As if we are just a lawless country. And yet we have people who we have put in charge. So what is happening? If they are not complicit, we should be seeing a reduction in the menace. But because they are complicit, we are seeing an expansion in the menace. So for me, I am very convinced that the fight against Galamsey and the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP is a hoax.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Dr. Clement Apak, who is Member of Parliament for Builsa South, starting the discussion. The question is whether the fight against illegal mining, remember, started in 2017 was renewed in 2021 when a new minister came into office for lands and natural resources. How well are we doing? Is it collapsing? If you're joining us, please share your comments. If you're watching us via Facebook, if you're watching us via YouTube, use their comment section, share your comments with us. I'll read them as we go along in the show. It's the matter of all talk shows. Let me listen to Mr. Solomon Owusu. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to co-panelists, and good morning to your cherished viewers across the length and breadth of this land. Very surprised that Dr. Apak would say that as a country we should not have trust or faith in our institutions. Then what is he doing in Parliament? Because Parliament is part of our institutions. Is he, by what he's saying, telling us that we must not have faith in the very institution that he has? No, it shouldn't be so. We must not use any least opportunity to bastardize our institutions. No matter how abysmal they are performing, the least we could do is to encourage and then identify where they are falling short so that they can improve upon it. The fight against Galamsey. Galamsey has been with us since the 15th century. In fact, we started mining in this country in the 15th centuries when the colonial masters came here and they were mining to propel their wealth. And that is what brought us that far. As a country, if we want to still proceed on the line of Galamsey, it is for all of us. I do not believe the fight against Galamsey is a sole responsibility of any government. It's for all of us as a country. Because drinking brown water does not discriminate as to who is an NDC or an MPP. It is all of us that drink the same water, infested by the same bacteria, and die as a result of the actions and inactions of all these people. But you see, Sena, I am not comfortable whenever we try to demonize Ghanaians doing mining in this country and then classify them as Galamseyers. I am least enthused about it. Because if you take mining as a whole in this country, the multinationals, the Anglo-Gold, the Goldfields, the Newmont, and so on and so forth, what good have they done to this country? I mean, let us even go a bit away from the Galamseyers, as we call them, to the big mining companies. What good have they done to us? Go to Obuasi, it's an eyesore. What good is in Obuasi? Go to Takwa, it's just unbelievable. Go to Bogoso, another unthinkable thing happening to us. So if we create the impression as though the big companies are doing anything good, I mean, underlying all this mining, whether multinationals, whether Galamseyers, is the destruction of the environment. That is where, for me, the emphasis must be. And not that because Ghanaians are doing it or because Chinese are doing it, and so it's wrong, but because a colored person is doing it, and it's right. No. Either two. You go to Obuasi, and they had a very beautiful orange, sweet orange, that you could taste. But for the mining of Anglo-Gold and Co., now the acidic levels in the oranges there is something that is incomprehensible. And so we must look at even the big players in the industry. Look, last year, we are told by the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana that we shipped about 130,000 kilograms of gold out of this country. Ask yourself, how much did Ghana benefit? I mean, the total value of that gold is estimated around 8 billion. We are told we had about 2 billion. So what benefit are we getting from that? That is what must engage us. Now, whether we like it or not, for the 100 years that we have involved in this mining business, locals have acquired some form of skill in that direction. And to that extent, it is very difficult overnight to say that Sena that has been trained as a journalist must cross to become a farmer. It is not easy. So these people with the mining skill would definitely find way of livelihood. And for me, once we have people with that skill, it is for government to begin to look at how best we can harness the skills of these people into a productive venture. How do we regularize their activities? I have said that these community mining and so on and so on, as beautiful as the policies are, there is a lacuna in there. What the people are facing. Mining, you need heavy equipment to be able to do it. The question you ask yourself is whether or not the locals, the indigenous, they have what it takes to afford the acquisition of these heavy mining equipment to be able to do responsible mining, like what you call you classify these multinationals as doing. And for me, government must come in to aid them in acquiring these heavy equipment so that we can regulate the activities. We are told by statistics that 36% of the gold production in this country come from these illegal miners, those we call illegal miners. And I would always go for the illegal miners as against the multinationals. Because if for nothing at all, the Ghanaian that is doing the illegal mining is bringing the money back to this country. At the end of the day, all of us are destroying the water. But who is bringing something to this country to even deal with the issues? We enrich foreigners and we want to bastardize our people. It's not going to happen. But the truth of the matter is that we always end up doing partisan politics with it. Look, this idea of fighting Galamseyers, it started from Jerry Rawlings' time. There were a number of operations. I remember even in President Kufuor's time, there was Operation Flash Out. And in 2006, when we launched that operation, it was heavily used against the New Patriotic Party in the 2008 election. Professor Kwesi Pratt Jnr, may his soul rest in peace, used it seriously against the NPP to the extent that we lost a huge amount of votes in the mining areas. Now they came to power between 2009 to 2016. We also did the same thing. We used Galamsey against them and benefited us. 2020 elections, you remember what happened? When we had declared war on Galamseyers, go and check the electoral results from the various mining areas, to the extent that for the first time in the history of this political party, after 1992, we nearly lost the Takwa seat. Why were we losing that seat? Because our brothers have gone there. The lives of Kwakubwa and the lives of Dr. Obin had personally visited Galamsey sites, including Sabi Jamfi, to assure them that when the NDC had the opportunity of returning to power, they would allow them to do their Galamsey free of charge.
They did that.
They did that. They are on tape. The videos are there. They went as far as to organize press conference at mining sites. You were not in this country, Sena. I will furnish you with the videos. And that was the height of irresponsible politicking in this country. So, yes, it is a menace. We all agree. But the truth of the matter is that when a government takes the posture of dealing with the issue, you are likely to have your opponents coming to do politics with it, instead of, as a country, sitting down and knowing that, yes, people have acquired skill in that direction. Let us help them. Their major challenge as small-scale miners, that's what I prefer to call them, is that they do not have adequate resources to enable them purchase the kind of sophisticated machinery needed for mining. We have established Ghana equipment something. What are we doing to empower these people with the machinery that we have to generate the much needed revenue to the state, rather than thinking that these whites or foreigners are better off in terms of mining? They say responsible mining. What is responsible about their mining in this country? And so, Sena, until we refrain from that act, and my brother was talking about Aishawan being an example of why we have failed in this country. How can Aishawan be the one, be an indicator of our failure in the fight against mining? When Aishawan came to this country during their term, she came to Ghana during the term of the NDC. What did they do about it? In fact, she is on record to have been arrested on 3 occasions. He was talking about losing faith in our system. If we ever lost faith, then it was their behavior in dealing with Aishawan in the past. What happened to the 3 occasions that she was arrested? Was the docket prepared? Was she taken to court? Was she dealt with? It is a systemic failure. And it draws our attention back to how we fund political activities in this country. If you want to tackle this whole issue of foreigners invading into our mining space, the first question you ask yourself is, how do we fund our political activities in this country? These miners come in, they generate a lot of resources, and knowing that the politician is vulnerable, you need money to be able to pursue your political agenda, goes in to give monies to political parties. When they do, you're supposed to pay them back because they are not NGOs. And so when they decide to embark on any illegality, there is no one to be able to take them on. And they have been able to, beyond the politician, infiltrated in the security agencies to the extent that the command that should go for people to be flushed out, that command never goes because someone is also benefiting. It is a holistic approach and not to limit it. If you decide to limit it to something that has to do with the MPP alone, I'm telling you, government will go, government will come, the value will be the same. The Chinese that comes to this country to do illegal mining, they don't bring their own lands from anywhere. They come to this country, they don't even know the geopolitical landscape of our country. It is the locals, the Ghanaians that show them where the goals are. That when you go to Busa North, there is a place here that you can do mining. And they go. When they go, we have district chief executive, we have regional ministers, we have MPs there. How often do they expose them? They won't expose them because they come in various shapes. You are an MP, you are doing a fundraiser and someone comes to give you 500,000. Would you have the balls to say, I'm exposing you? That is what we are dealing with now. And so we need to tackle the issue of political party funding so that it is so open for all to know those that are contributing and their motive. Until we do that, and we continue to carry on with what we are doing, we will continue to have some of these things. So, Sena, all that I want to say is that, yes, we need to redefine Galamsey in this country. Ghanaians have acquired the skill. We must put them into good use, give them the necessary equipment. If it is that government will guarantee for even the machinery. Because the only reason why these Chinese do it is that they have access to these sophisticated machines. And so they come in and partner with the Ghanaian counterparts and then do their mining. You know that the Ghanaians are capable of doing the same mining. So that when we are able to replicate it, we will reap the much needed benefits out of it. Else, it will be the same story over and over that we are fighting against Galamsey. When in fact you are fighting, no one fights against money and wins. It is money. Gold is money. And once it is money business, it is very difficult for any government to win. I will end it here.
Thank you. Thank you, Sholo. Whilst we were talking, someone sent me some data between 2016 and 2020. Between the large mining companies, the data shows that they generated over $21 billion from gold alone. And it turns out if we put royalties and taxes together, we got 13% of that. So 13% of that is what went to us. Over $21 billion. Yeah.
And we are also destroying our environment.
Well, let me read a few messages. Ebu Farouk in Tamale North is joining us in a good morning. He has an issue with the NCA. Seriously, the decision of the NCA and Communication Ministry to block SIM cards of innocent citizens is unfortunate. It is totally a breach of our human rights. If Aisha Wang is registered fully, why are Ghanaians suffering to register? There's Musa Abato who is joining us. Says Aisha Wang has exposed the deficiencies in our system and the lies that have been made by Baumia that our biometric system is more reliable than that of the UK. How can you fight Galamsey anytime excavators are impounded, they get missing? In official custody, John Mahama has proposed solutions on how to fight the canker in the 2020 People's Manifesto of the NDC. They should get a copy and save themselves from this wahala. There's Mohammed Ziblim, who is also joining us, who says Ghana has no future if this family and friends government continue to rule us. Ghana can only be saved when Ghanaians bring GM back to save the country. There's Real Ghana, who says continuously slogan of Nana Akufo-Addo and NPP party. Okay. Queen Elizabeth has died at, she was 96. Another external shock has hit Ghana's economy. TCJ is joining us from saying that there's nothing like fighting in Galamsey until, okay, Dawuda Ibrahim is joining us, says the NPP man is convincing me that politicians are really a problem in this matter. We depend on criminals to fund political activities, then we are one and the same as the criminal. What's it, Ghana? There's Raymond Kujao. The fight against Galamsey has gotten worse. Fourfolds ever since the ban was lifted.
The fight against Galamsey can never be won by any government if we don't do the following. 1. Get our chiefs integrally involved in the licensing process and be ready to hold them ruthlessly accountable. The question is, can we send a chief to jail in Ghana, or is a chief above the law? 2. We need to resource the geological survey to explore the entire country for us. So we have a bargaining power to make Ghana a mining investment destination and also be able to allocate appropriate areas for small-scale miners. Without this, Ghana can never solve the Galamsey challenge. There's a Suleiman Abdullah says the NIA is unable to register millions of Ghanaians, and yet they can register other citizens. Abdul Kadir Kataiga is also joining us. Says Ghana lost the fight against illegal mining from day one when government officials defended this same Aisha girl just because of what they get, whatever they got from her. May God Almighty Allah save Mother Ghana from this administration. So there are other messages coming in, but let me listen to Nii Yarboi Annan. Let's listen to Nii Yarboi Annan. It's the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live on Pan African TV and we are live on the
Thank you, Sena, and a good morning to our viewers. Well, I would want to look at different aspects of this fight and why we continue to lose it. Gold as international reserve currency, and especially in the times we are in. It looks to me that we have taken our minds off its actual value and why other nations are interested in our gold. And therefore, we have the diagnosis are often wrong or not effective. I believe that most of the Galamsey fight, and especially the one that was launched by His Excellency, the President, was only to learn the trade, free space or turf, and acquire the seized assets from the actions of the military and use them as assets to mine more gold to the benefit of those new entrants. Because they learn the trade and they realize that gold as a currency has become quite lucrative, and therefore we participate. If you free up a place or a Galamsey site, I believe we should have records of those sites. And have we gone back to recheck if those sites or sites are not that busy like they used to be before? Is Aisha Wan, or whatever she is called, only working for the interests of the Chinese, or also working to a greater benefit of some greedy people within our systems of power? That is something we have to bring our minds to it. How we manage sales of gold and the opaque nature in which that business or transaction is being carried out will also make the fight difficult for us. We know the number of liftings we have done with oil. Yet, we can't really tell from each site or each mining firm exactly the volumes of gold that was produced out of those places. But we can tell that of oil. We can easily tell that this is coming from that field. So much is coming from that field. But we can't say it's same when it comes to gold. The reason is those that benefit wouldn't want us to have full disclosure. The issue of integrity in our public space must also be looked at. Because we were here, and like it has been said earlier, a whole senior minister, which I would want to equate to a prime minister, gives us an information that turned out to be untrue. And currently, he is the advisor to the president. Lack of integrity. He is neither come to speak of this new development or given the president his resignation. Because if someone who lacks so much integrity is advising the president, that is dangerous to this country. Our institution of state that handled the entire process of his arrests, deportation, reportedly. I mean, are we being told that Aisha Wan brought a new passport into this country when she was leaving? Her passport was not scanned. I mean, what is really the story? The police have said nothing. Immigration, nothing. Our port of exit and entry have said nothing about it. Yet, our taxpayers' money is being spent on these very people who lack so much integrity. And they are the helm of affairs in the institutions of state that ought to protect the assets of this nation. And it's like we are all cool about it. We don't see it as an issue. Whether she is a spy or not a spy. I think that it is more to do with our integrity of people within our state's infrastructure. And those people must be named. Those people must have their resignation signed immediately, even if it has to take the president writing the resignation of those people. But if he is not minded, then I beg to say that he is a participant. People must start paying for the falls in this country. Nobody takes a fall in this country. Things happen, we talk about it, and they go away. And it has become a norm that, they will talk about it probably about 2 weeks. The whole issue will die down. As we speak, I am not sure, by virtue of what had already happened, that the said arrest is even an arrest. She might be in a nice hotel enjoying herself. Tell me how I should believe the system. of what they are saying. No. If this can happen, how should I believe the system? I am not able to trust the system. And that is what happens if the very people who are supposed to protect us are the ones, due to benefits, are failing in their duty to protect us as a nation. We must bring sanity to the entire gold trading activities in this country. If it is smuggling, if it is the exclusive right for cocoa board to be selling all our cocoa and be buying all our cocoa, and therefore if our brothers at the border town smuggle cocoa over to Cote d'Ivoire, they are arrested, then equally, gold as a national asset should be treated the same. And everything produced here should be bought by either the PMMC or BOG. Why haven't we be that bold to treat gold the same as we are treating cocoa? Why? We talk of the benefits that comes out of gold compared to its value. Let's bring in some clarity. Assuming it is 13% we are making in terms of royalties and taxes, some of the royalties are in kind as well. So we are supposed to get our own share of the gold. Yet we are unable to add just a ton of gold to our reserve of gold by BOG. What is informing that? Who is benefiting from that? That even our benefit in kind is being sold by who we don't know. Our reserves are not up by a ton or an ounce for a very long time. The issue here is who is thinking through the entire process. Who is analyzing the benefit of gold for this nation? Because the benefit is not only about what we get in terms of royalties and taxes. Even the mining firm, are they repatriating 100% of their incomes? No. And therefore, the volume, and therefore, the figures being mentioned are not benefiting our reserves. And therefore, we stand at a greater loss than just the percentages in terms of taxes. I believe that we are mining gold today that belongs to generations to come, and we have no business mining those gold. And if a nation is so unintelligent to manage such an asset, I believe that that asset is better buried for wiser generation to deal with this gold, because we have proven unwise in the management of this very important currency, international currency for that matter. We can no longer take words from a president or the people in governance about the fight in terms of Galamsey. If it is good for Aisha 1, like Solo said, it should be good for our people as well. If you cannot stop just a lady from maneuvering, making nonsense of our state infrastructure, questioning the integrity of our political power, then we have no business getting involved in that business. And if we cannot shut it down completely, then we should allow equally our brothers to go and mine. Because we have failed. Totally. We are no longer talking about the clean water. We are no longer taking the cameras around. You put your presidency online. And I thought integrity and respect for us as people is to at least sack some few people within your administration. We have an interior minister in this country. Do we? Not even a sense of urgency for government to say a word on this. This is how low we can go, disrespectful we can be to the people. This is how low. Sena, I will end here and say that aside this government failing us, the president failing us in this fight, the president himself has failed his own words. And I believe inwardly, if he has any conscience, he should be ashamed of himself. I end my submission.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me just first say a big thank you to Shine FM in Akache, 96.9, Hills FM in Adakru on 91.7, Nuwasi Radio in Ketekrachi on 89.7, Stella Radio Dabala 97.1, Diamond FM in Tamale on 93.7, Bewa Radio Yendi 106.5, Radio Kitao in Sabuba 95.7, Benya FM on Mina on 105.7, Cape FM in Cape Coast on 93.3, Global FM in Ho on 105.1, Volta 1 TV, Zeps FM 95.9 in Zebila, True FM 92.5 in Adeso, Lamara FM 89.1 in Tripoli. Let me say a big thank you to Sekbele FM. Let me go through a few of the messages you're sending to us that I haven't read already. Then I'll go to Mr. Pratt, of course. Yeah, ever since I started hosting this show, he's always drawn attention to the gold sector whenever he's talking about the economy. It consistently has been raising issue about the kind of value we are getting from gold. Samolama is joining us. Okay. This one is the IMF not being too diplomatic about the causes of the collapse of our economy. Are they telling us that the corruption, TV, lawlessness, profligate spending by government, the unnecessary large number of government appointees, and etc., are not among the causes of the collapse of our economy? This is very unfortunate. He says, there's a Mano James says the waste of time for anybody who or can ask this government to deport or take Ashawan to he's even to Ghana's court. There's Daniel Anthony, who is also joining us. So what did Akufo-Addo put his presidency on? And I am not sure what you keep this. Okay, thank you. Lydia Boeke is also joining. Your president said he will stop it. And for that matter, he was ready to put his presidency on the line. Speak the truth. Don't defend your MPP. You have lost the fight against Galamsey Solo. Kobla is joining us. Says, good morning. That is Lydia Boeke. Kobla says, my problem with this government is that they pretend to fight Galamsey, but are seen to be protecting the people who are caught indulging in this act. Ask Solomon how come Charles Bisu is now working in the Flagstaff House even though he has been exposed on tape, or is this also propaganda? There is Dawuda Ibrahima, who says,
Okay, I think I've read that a bit earlier. Dennis Kwesi Jnr says the fight against Galamsey is just a joke. As it appears, big men across the political divide are indeed behind the destruction of our environment, just for self, without thinking about posterity, with its security implications for the nation as exposed by Aisha Wang. Sadly, the narrative so far in all this appears as though Ghana has just gained political independence and struggling to learn about the rudiments of political governance. Our traditional rulers are as well much to blame in the illegal mining scheme. Just too bad. Troy McMashall says, so sad that the, wisdom, well, Zachary Akibo, okay, you have mentioned somebody's name. Thank you very much. Let me do a few other messages here, and then I'll jump on. If you're joining us on YouTube, please share your comments with us. I'll read it, because I have to read your comments too. This is Black Bajaw says, Sena, if you're deceiving your legs, it is your body that suffers the pain. MPP Nanado-led government think they are smarter than any human being. Now they are thinking about how to be smarter than Almighty God also. But we have a savior called GMMDC. That's Black Baja's comment. This is okay. This is Azinako George. Sorry to disappoint you, Mr. Yarboi. Time Kufuor is not here to serve the interests of his people. Their interest is the Ejapadia blueprints. If you check the document, there's this one coming from Papa Bisi, who says, Sena, the MPP anytime in government, impunity reigns supreme in all the activities. Corruption, gangsterism, great loot and share in a hard-earned taxpayers' cash, allow party folks to mount container shops anywhere and anyhow to dirty the capital city of Ghana. Special case is a circle. All they think of is milking the state dry to the detriment of majority of suffering Ghanaians. No wonder Osafo did allow Aisha, the Galamsey queen, to go scot-free. And some of their gurus laugh. Okay. Thank you very much. There's this one also. Okay, I think it's Dennis Akweti again who sent that a bit earlier. Keep your messages coming. I'll read them as we go along in the show. Mr. Pratt?
Look, what is happening in the gold sector defies common sense. We have a situation in which right now there is so much noise about going to the IMF for a maximum bailout of $3 billion. Throughout this week, if you read all of our newspapers, attention is focused on getting something from the IMF. To the extent that even statements made by the IMF managing director gain the front pages of our national newspapers and so on. And yet you have a situation where everywhere you go in this country, you find gold. Does this make sense? We have so much gold that people are coming from all over the world, from Britain, from Canada, from the United States of America, from China, from neighboring countries, from remote countries, to pick the gold and take it away. And we are busy making noise about going to the IMF to look for money. This is so silly. I mean, it's unbelievably silly. Because if you have this much gold, if there's a gold rush in Ghana, how does it make sense to be going to the IMF to look for a bailout? I cannot understand it. Okay. Now, look at the number and severity of sanctions imposed on Russia this year alone. In fact, we are told that Russia is the most sanctioned country in the world. And yet Russia's currency is stable. Can't our leaders stop for a moment and ask this important question? How did Russia do it? Our leaders, can't they hear? Can't they see? Don't they read the newspapers? They can't ask commonsensical questions and find commonsensical answers. Look, Russia has introduced a raft of measures which has made its currency one of the strongest currencies in the world today. One of the most important measures that Russia has instituted is that it has pegged its currency to gold. Its currency is backed by gold. That's all. And we have gold in Bolgatanga. We have gold in Navrongo. We have gold everywhere. And our currency is second from bottom, the worst performing currency in the world. Unbelievable. I mean, how do you describe this situation? I can't believe it. You know, and you have all these kinds of leaders. I don't know what to say. Because you don't need to go to Harvard to understand this. All you have to do is to have just a little bit of common sense. You don't have to go to school. A little bit of common sense should tell us that something is fundamentally wrong with the way we are handling gold in our country. Now, the question we're supposed to be answering on this program is whether or not we are losing the fight against Galamsey. And Master, you travel a lot, Solo. You travel a lot. You probably travel more than I do. Sena, you travel around this country, anywhere you go, and the evidence is there. I mean, I traveled from Accra through the western region and ended up in Obuasi. This is a 3-day trip. So now, everywhere you go, you see all these payloaders carrying excavators. All these excavators moving up and down the country. What are they doing? Because we know that we are not repairing the roads. We know that we are not constructing new roads. We know that we don't have new housing projects. We know that those dugouts they call one village, one dam, you know, we'll stop making them and so on. So these excavators, which are parading all over the country, what are they doing? I mean, last week, there was this big story about 2 excavators which got missing in Elembele and so on. How did those excavators get to Elembele? What major construction project is taking place in Elembele? For which these excavators were needed? In any case, we don't make excavators in Elembele. They are all imported. They come through the Temahabo. They are put on payloaders and driven all the way to Elembele. So nobody saw these excavators moving. In fact, when we are allowing people to bring in those excavators, what were we expecting them to come and use the excavators for? So, again, common sense. I have taken the trouble to listen to the different stories coming out of Elembele. And at the end of the day, my summary is this. The DC saw excavators engage in Galamsey in Elembele. DC seizes the excavators. Okay? DC decides that the excavators should not walk the roads. Is that how you say it in English? Because of the way they move and so they will destroy the road. So park them by the side of the road. Order payloaders to come and take the excavators. Meanwhile, ask the police watch over the excavators until the payloaders arrive. Policemen are sent to watch over the excavators. Listen very carefully. By evening, the policemen are ordered to leave. This is the story. They are ordered to leave. By morning, the excavators are missing. Who gave the order for the policemen to leave? The policemen who were supposed to be guarding the excavators who gave that order. Then DC is informed that the excavators are on the move. So DC hurriedly chases the excavators, finds the excavators, and then decides to film one excavator. One excavator was moving as evidence. He brings out his phone, he's filming the moving excavator, and he's arrested, put in jail. I mean, unbelievable. Can you believe this? Now, if the district chief executive, district head of security and so on, is arrested for filming a missing excavator escaping his territory, who in that district can stop Galamsey? And today, as we sit here, the DCE is under investigation. He was supposed to be put before court and so on. I can't believe it. So this is the story of Galamsey, and this is the effort we are making to kill Galamsey or to stop Galamsey. Now, then I'm going to tell you a very interesting story, my own experience. You know the Takwa area? There's a Galamsey kingpin in the Takwa area. Big Galamsey kingpin in the Takwa area. It is alleged that this Galamsey kingpin actually threatened or took steps to harm a deputy minister. I'm being very careful with my words and so on. That is about 9 months ago. Now, if I threaten a deputy minister, will I be walking around free? Somebody threatens a deputy minister, there's no arrest, nothing happens to him, he's walking free. That is not all. This same person actually picks his weapon and shoots 2 people, shoots them. 3 to 4 months ago. No arrest, nothing has happened. You know my personal angle? My personal angle is I get to know this story. I want to find the full facts. So I called the regional police commander. I said, my brother, I want to know what is happening. This is a confidential chat. Nobody is going to know. I'm not going to write about it. So tell me the truth, what happened. He said, oh yes, we got a report that this man shot 2 people. We invited him to bring his weapons for forensic examination, and he has refused to bring his weapons for forensic examination. You are talking about Aisha 1? Are you talking about Aisha 1? Aisha 1 is not the height of impunity. It's nothing. So I then said to this police commander, I said, my friend, why are you doing this? Why haven't you done what the law requires? He says, what? You don't know what is happening. The man told me that a certain very big man is the one who gave him the order to go on the land. The names behind the man, I'm frightened. Of course you'll be frightened. Who would not be frightened? So I said, give me the name of the big man. And then he gives me the name of the big man. I take my phone and I call the big man. I say, Master, your name is being mentioned in this affair and so on. These are the circumstances. This is the man I've spoken to. And he swears to heaven and earth that he doesn't even know the man. And the big man could be telling me the truth. He could be telling me the truth. So I said, this is the telephone number of the police commander. You call him and assure him that you will not be after him. You are not behind this Galamsey kingpin and so on. Master, as we sit here, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. And you know, during the course of the week, I was talking about a new phenomena in our country. This new phenomena is the fear of big men. The fear of big men. Look, illegality is taking place. As soon as the name of a big man is dropped, everybody is running for cover. And then, in the course of the week, I said something which I think is serious, but maybe others don't think that is serious. You see all the security alerts we are getting about the threat of Islamic insurgents and so on. You've been following all those alerts and so on. Sena, just sit back and imagine 3 or 4 black Land Cruisers, 3 or 4 black Land Cruisers, with their hazard lights on, and sirens blaring. Where can they enter in Ghana? Even Jubilee House is not safe. Once they see black Land Cruisers with hazard lights on, with siren blaring, oh, no soldier, no policeman, nobody, no nothing will try to stop that convoy. This springs out of the fear of the big man, that phenomenon. So you mention the big man's name, whether it is true or not, the fear it inspires is amazing. And that is one of the reasons why there is so much impunity in our country. And I think that we've got to look at that. Now, are you looking for evidence of the failure of the fight against Galamsey? It's not hard to find. Anywhere you go in this country, look at the density of the waters in our rivers. Look at the color of the waters in our rivers. I mean, I travel around and I see the rivers, and they look like Tom Brown. Tom Brown, cooked Tom Brown for breakfast. The water can't even flow anymore. It's so dense, it can't move. The color is brown, deep brown. In some places, they look like coffee. Everywhere you go. That is the evidence. What evidence do you need again? My brother, and you know what is happening? Now, our agriculture is going to suffer severely as a result of this activity. Now, our agriculture is going to suffer severely because the farmers need this water in order to be able to grow food for us to eat. The water now, you can't use it to grow food for us to eat. And even in places where it is not so severe, if you try, the food you grow becomes poison. The level of arsenic in the food, the level of mercury in the food, if you eat it, you will die. So that is the problem. I don't know if you think about all the different dimensions of Galamsey. You see, Galamsey is also leading to a situation where we are cutting down prime forests. These forests serve as carbon sinks. So we are polluting the environment. It is not just about putting arsenic and mercury and so on in water. It's about removing the carbon sink The carbon sink takes the carbon out of the atmosphere and stores the carbon and so on. Now, the carbon is in the atmosphere. Asthmatic people are going to die. They will die. Asthmatic people will die. People with preconditions will die. It has a health implication. It has all kinds of implications. Now, Sena, what again should we say? Listen, this Galamsey is not being done in inaccessible corners. You are traveling on the main road. By the side of the main road, they are digging. Feely, gani, open. They are not hiding. They are doing it in our eyes, not in front of our eyes, in our eyes. So they are not hiding. Okay? There's a very prominent town somewhere in the eastern region. I'm sure everybody who travels around knows what I'm talking about. As you enter the town, on your left and on your right, they are digging. And nothing is happening. Sena. Look, there's also a new development which is troubling. Ghana used to be the leading producer of cocoa in the world. I am convinced that we are not getting the maximum results from cocoa. Because we are not doing sufficient value addition and other problems and so on. In fact, right now, we have so messed up the cocoa industry that license buying agencies, Ghanaian license buying companies are collapsing. Ghanaian LBCs are collapsing. And very soon, foreign LBCs are going to take over the entire cocoa trade. Okay? Now, what is worse is that now that indigenous Ghanaians are being kicked out of buying cocoa and foreigners are taking over, we are now making regulations to allow licensed buyers to sell directly abroad and earn the foreign exchange for themselves. If this is not crazy, what can be crazy? Master, if this is not crazy, what can be crazy? Okay? But worse, we've now declined. We are now the second largest producer of cocoa in the world. My prediction is that if current trends in the cocoa industry continue, we will soon become the third and maybe the fourth. And we'll be going down. Do you know what is happening? These Galamsey operators are buying cocoa farms because they believe that there's gold under the cocoa farms and cutting down the cocoa trees so they can dig the gold and take it away. Look, if you go to the rural areas, plantain farms are being destroyed. Cassava farms are being destroyed. Is it any wonder that we are importing cassava now?
We are importing plantain.
Master, what are we not importing?
Toothpick.
Ghana is the third largest importer of tomato paste from Germany. Third largest importer of tomato paste from Germany. These Galamsey people, they are cutting down everything. Some time ago, we used to think that these practices were only in the south. Go to Bolga and see. Go to Navrongo and surrounding areas and see the gold rush there and so on. Everything is being destroyed. Now, this is happening at a time when the president, His Excellency, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Commander of the Ghana Armed Forces, Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, is president. And he made a pledge that if defeating Galamsey will cost him his presidency, he was ready to go ahead. Here we are. Should I say more? Here we are. And then every day, every week, every month, you hear stories about buying special equipment to fight Galamsey. Speedboats. The other time I even heard that they wanted to bring in helicopters, drones, state-of-the-art technology, and Galamsey keeps getting worse. What is happening? You know, leak tapes don't tell us everything, but sometimes they tell us something. I'm sure that all of us on this panel have heard the leak tape in which somebody says a few words. In discussing Galamsey, somebody says a few very striking words. Party no yasika. I lie. If I lie, tell me that I lie. That is the reason. That is why we are here. Party political campaigning. How to generate resources to fool the people so that they can put papers in the ballot box so that we can retain power. Party no yasika. That's all. Because otherwise, how do you explain this mess? Master, I know people who used to wonder how guinea fowls can cross our border. You remember that? They used to make a lot of noise. Jesus Christ, how did guinea fowls cross the border, fly to Burkina and so on? Every day we were being told that guinea fowls were flying to Burkina Faso. Then we gave the same people power. In the first year, they told us about how donkeys were carrying fertilizers on their back and crossing the border. Master, if I lie, just tell me, I will stop. People who were complaining about guinea fowls crossing the border, all of a sudden were telling us that these donkeys, they are bad. The donkeys are destroying our economy. They carry fertilizer on their back and they cross the border. Then we hear stories about tractors which have been brought in for farmers also crossing the border. Hey, tractors too crossing the border like that? Master, this is the story. This is the story. Do I have to say more? So now everything is crossing the border. And we are in such a mess, unbelievable mess. The economy in Cree, they will say, we're finishing. You know so? Economy not finishing. We're finishing. Economy is in shambles. Look at the city. Look at everything. You know, sometimes I just wonder about the type of leaders we have. I'm sure we all know. You see, if you are going into Switzerland, you can carry millions of dollars, pounds, whatever. Nobody is going to ask you any question because we are entering with money. Listen to me very carefully. But when you are leaving, hey, try carrying $20,000 out of Switzerland and see what you have. But our leaders here, our leaders here, our security agencies here, try bringing in $10,000 into this country. In fact, when they are taking it out, there will be no problem. When they are bringing it in, that is when you have the problem. This is our problem. Our problem is our leaders. So, as for the fight against Galamsey, when are we going to get it right? And then, even let's come to this Aisha one. according to the story we have been told so far, and I hope that that is the true story, because sometimes we are told these stories and then it turns out that it's not the full story. She came into the country illegally from the Ghana-Togo border. That's how she came in. Illegally. Now look, Ashawan is a Chinese, okay? She sticks out in the crowd. She can't mingle with local people who live along the border and so on without detection. She sticks out. She's able to enter illegally. Now, these Boko Haram fighters, how do you tell the difference between them and Ghanaians? So if she can enter so easily, what about Boko Haram fighters and so on? So it raises the question of the porosity of our borders. And it has serious security implications. Okay? No doubt, she has entered. As for the fact that she has entered, is not in dispute. She has entered. The porosity of our border is established and so on. She now goes to acquire a Ghana card, identity card. Listen to the story. The story is so funny, it's unbelievable. She goes with a new name. She wants a Ghana card. Her particulars are keyed in, and they find that her biometrics are already registered in the system. What does that tell you? How did her biometrics get into the system? That is the clearest indication that she has registered before. The official registry her says, oh, there's a problem. Your biometrics are already in the system. In that case, don't bother to register with this name that you are bringing. Register with X name and so on. So what is happening with this Ghana card thing? Today, in fact yesterday, I met about 3 people who could not make telephone calls because the NCA has blocked their phones because they have not registered. Many people are crying because they've not been able to acquire Ghana cards for them to be able to register their phones. Innocent people. People going about their legitimate businesses and so on. They can't get Ghana card. But hey, Aisha, easy, she can get it. Is that not a problem? No, the recent arrival.
She was going to change the details.
She did succeed.
She had to renew. By changing the details. No, she had.
First time registration.
Yes.
Don't go there to. If you read the NI statement, they didn't say to change the details.
No, you gave the name.
First time registration.
She went there to register as Ruzia.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was ready to do that because foreigners are allowed to.
But they found her biometrics already in the system.
And so they made her to renew her original.
No problem. Yeah. But it was easier for her than those whose SIM cards are being blocked.
That is another matter that we can.
But it's an important related matter.
It's a very important issue.
Fantastic.
But she was deported, and the NIA does not have any flagging of her details in our system.
That is also another matter that we can.
You see, so the other matters are increasing all the time.
We can discuss all the
time. Other matters.
It's just not holding water.
Because I do not have the.
Yeah, let me.
You see, I'm landing. Yeah. One of the things I've always said, and it's something that the president has also said. The president, His Excellency Commander-in-Chief, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, told us that we ain't going anywhere if you don't deal with the Goggisberg economy. If you don't have a fundamental restructuring of our economy, we ain't going anywhere. I go back and I say, look, what was the independence struggle about? The independence struggle led by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, whether you like it or not. its aim. Three clear objectives of the independence struggle. One, our right as a people to choose our own leaders. Number one. Two, our right as a people to own our own resources, all the resources, gold, diamonds, so on, to own it. Ghanaians own it. And third, the exploitation of these resources for our own benefit. Finish. 3 objectives. Today, 60-something years after independence, look at us. Galamsey is a long statement about the quality of our independence. The entire gold industry is a huge statement about the quality of our independence. How much do we get from all this gold exploitation? How much as a country? If we put royalties, everything together, it's not up to 5% of the total value of gold taken out of our soils. And we should be worried. We fight Galamsey so that we affirm the gains of our independence. We fight Galamsey to strengthen the national economy. We fight Galamsey to improve our health. We fight Galamsey as a measure aimed at achieving food sufficiency. Look at where we are. Sena, you can see what I'm wearing. This morning, should I say I attended or I attempted to attend?
I think you attempted to attend.
Perhaps one of the biggest funerals I've seen in my life. I went to the Kwame Nkrumah's conference center to go and sympathize with my friend and so on, Mr. Japan, Zoom Lion. Master, the funeral was so big, so gigantic, that it was impossible. So I just quickly came back and sat here. That's why my apparel is showing on this television set. So what can we do? From afar, we extend our sympathies to Mr. Joseph Ejapon, Managing Director of Zoom Lion. If he organizes smaller funerals, it may make it possible for non-entities like us to go there and sympathize with him. But when the funerals are so big, we get missing in the equation. And I go missing in the equation, and I'm sitting here quietly. Please accept my condolences.
I had a few rebuttals. Okay, when we'll come back, you know how it works. We'll start the next topic with you so that you raise these issues. But
no, I want to.
Let's Alhaji Sawadogo said he thought you were going to talk about. Alhaji Sawadogo said he thought when you started with the donkeys, you went to the other ones you were going to excavator. He said he was disappointed he didn't mention the fact that excavators too can get wings and fly. Well, so thank you very much for sticking and staying with us. The Mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We'll take a break. When we'll come back, we are discussing the comments of the IMF boss.
To lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. And
the Socialist Movement of Ghana announces the program for the celebration of this year's Founders Day, the birthday of Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The celebration starts on Tuesday, September 20, 2022, with a placard parade from the Black Star Square to the Bank of Ghana headquarters on the Professor Atta Mills High Street from 10 a.m. On Wednesday, September 21, there will be a public forum at the headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana on the George Walker Bush Highway at 4 p.m. The event will be chaired by Professor Ikua Bruchum of the University of Cape Coast. The speakers will be Professor Raymond Atuguba of the University of Ghana and Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jnr., General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Join us in exposing the lies of history about the independence and the heroes and sheroes of Ghana. The general public, progressive and socialist forces are all invited. The The Socialist Movement of Ghana announces the program for the celebration of this year's Founders' Day, the birthday of Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The celebration starts on Tuesday, September 20, 2022, with a placard parade from the Black Star Square to the Bank of Ghana headquarters on the Professor Atta Mills High Street from 10 a.m. On Wednesday, September 21, there will be a public forum at the headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana on the George Walker Bush Highway at 4 p.m. The event will be chaired by Professor Ikwe of the University of Cape Coast. The speakers will be Professor Raymond Atuguba of the University of Ghana and Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jnr, General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Join us in exposing the lies of history about the independence and the heroes and sheroes of Ghana. The general public, progressive and socialist forces are all invited.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and
a very big thank you for staying with us on Pan-African Television. We are live with the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We're also live on Radio Good and several affiliates across the country. Let me just do a few messages from our last discussion. This is Kus Kwashi, who says, Sena, it looks like as if Solomon is a Oluwa. Okay, this is very insulting. Dauda Ibrahim Brahma says, Sena, it may not be part of your topics, but I wanted to ask Uncle Kwesi Pratt and other panel members whether Ghana Card can ever stop borrowing or borrowing to misapply, but invest to repay. James Antiai says, I wonder why almost every time you... Okay. Some of you kept drawing my attention to the fact that my sound was not working well. I know you can hear me now. We apologize. If you realize, they've changed my microphone alone 3 times, so the technicians were working on it. Nasir Mohammed said MPP and Danana just used this Galamsey fight as a cover to take over the mining, as the finance analyst said. Nobody in the government has integrity in respect of this and many other issues. Like they did with the banks, they have collapsed other people's businesses and replaced them with theirs. The president, if he had any integrity, would have resigned because he was putting his job on the line. Mohammed Abdul Razak Ali says, Sena, if our system is working, Aisha one can sneak into the country, but she will be arrested when she attempts to do any immigration process. The NIA should have called the police when they found out that she has 2 different passports with different names and dates of birth and different names. NIA boss must go. In fact, I spoke to the NIA boss. He told me it was normal procedure. Richmond Dogwe says, I want to believe Aisha Wan and Rushia embarked on board to Togo with her original passport and decided to use the fake one to enter Ghana to be for the immigration. But they come to think of it, how did she acquire the second passport since China is millions of years ahead of Ghana when it comes to IT? Therefore, the biometric systems in China should not allow her to acquire another passport using different names. Was she being sponsored or facilitated by the Chinese government? We need to wake up, as there's something fishy about the immoral transaction. As for passport, you can even get an American passport. Lengi Charanati says, how can you believe a man who struggled to be president and tell you he will put that down if he fails to address Galamsey? This man doesn't feel ashamed telling lies. Kuchu Said says, MPP has sold everything in Ghana. So do you people think IMF will be our savior? We better think of something else. Only God can save us. Owusu best says, Sena, if Akufo-Addo puts his presidency on the fight against Galamsey, then he has to be impeached if Ghana and Parliament is working. So those are some of the messages you've been sending to us. Let's go to the matter of the discussion on the comments of the IMF boss. Remember, the government has always been telling us that they are not the problem. The current economic issues is not because their policies were bad and affected the economy and the economy was struggling. It was COVID, Russia, Ukraine. Well, this week, the IMF boss also said the same thing, that it is not because of bad policies. It is COVID, Russia, Ukraine that has led our government to the IMF. Well, I'll start with Dr. Clement Apak. He says he has some rebuttals But you have 50 minutes to do both.
I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
I'll make it quick. Just a few clarifications. Solomon here, and making a submission, intelligently, sought to introduce some new elements, by and large, to try and poke holes into what I had said. It is not true that in the build-up to the 2020 election, my party and representatives of our party were out there telling persons who engaged in illegal mining that if we had the mandate of the people, we're going to give them, if you like, the freedom to continue engaging in what we consider to be destructive. If you will remember, during the build-up, there were instances where small-scale miners, illegal or not, were being hounded, some were arrested and incarcerated, some were even killed. And we had a policy. In fact, I had the privilege of working for a president who kept his word. I speak about John Dramani Mahama. And I was part of the policy team that looked at this issue of Galamsey to fashion out how we're going to handle it. And many of that content that we generated at the time was exposed and canvassed. And indeed, some of it was even captured in the People's Manifesto. What we had said was that it wasn't fair for foreigners, Chinese, including the same Aisha Wang, to do what they do that we knew of and to walk away. And yet indigents, Ghanaian citizens, were being killed, harassed, beaten, and even jailed. And therefore, if we had the opportunity, we were going to roll out a policy where we were going to let them form themselves into cooperatives. And we were going to use that structure to make sure that they engaged in mining, but not in a way that was going to be detrimental to the environment, controlled. In fact, we had spoken even before and during the 2020 campaign that we were going to bring a facility, $10 million, which we were going to use as seed money to implement what we call alternative livelihood projects, where we were going to get the same small-scale miners, legal or not, whom we would have formed into the cooperatives, to also undertake the reclamation of the destroyed lands and then to plant new trees. So those officers who went to the field, this is the message that they carried. They did not go to say that when NDC gets power, we're just going to allow you to mine. And so it's proper that we put this in context. Now, I think the issue of Aisha Wang, we've canvassed it a lot. We've spoken about it from all the different angles. And so I wouldn't go there. But safe to say that the implications of Galamsey, as Kwesi Pratt Jnr. has indicated, are very dire. I mean, it is affecting not just the surface water bodies, but underground water as well, which would mean that the poisonous substances clearly would enter the food chain. And when that enters the food chain, the implications of our health, very soon we would begin to record the birth of deformed children. And so the implications are dire. Our very survival is at stake. That is how bad it is, not just within the context of the surface water, the clearing of the farmlands and all of that, which obviously is going to exacerbate our current conditions of not being able to buy enough food. So the implications of this menace are very frightening. Okay. It's as though we are deliberately working ourselves into extinction, consciously, because those who are in charge, they know these things. And why the love for money and greed and party hesika is preventing them from doing the right thing, knowing that we are not safe as a species, clearly begs the question. Now to the recent comments by the World Bank,
the
IMF
managing director,
making the case that Ghana is where we are. We are on our knees in terms of our economy, the excruciating hardship, the pain and suffering that the people are facing is as a result of exogenous factors and not because of poor policies. I beg to differ. And I am utterly disappointed. I would have thought that she would have at least insulated herself from our domestic political terrain and discourse by not making comments that even she herself knows are not true. How could we be where we are because of exogenous factors? And when we speak about exogenous factors, as government itself has tried strenuously to canvass without success, we speak about COVID-19, and we speak about the Russia-Ukraine war. COVID-19 indeed hit the world, Ghana not exclusive. But the case we have continued to make is that Ghana is not an island, and therefore Ghana was not affected negatively by COVID-19 alone. We have sister nations. And by and large, if you look at us in West Africa and our sister nations like Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, we operate within the same variables by and large. I mean, from our culture to our economies to macroeconomic factors, we are within the same bracket. So if it were the case that we are where we are because of exogenous factors, how come that we are recording the levels of inflation that we are? And depending on who you refer to, some are pegging it at 30%. That American professor that you refer to when we're on break, Professor Hank, he is even saying that it is beyond 50%. Why is it at Togo? Why is it at Benin? Why is it at the Ivory Coast? Why is it that Nigeria is not recording the same figures? They were also impacted by COVID-19. What is it that they did differently that we didn't do? Well, if we have touted ourselves as having done better in managing the COVID situation compared to them. If you look at the mortality rate attributable to COVID, we have not done better than them. That is point number one. So that should tell you that it cannot be exogenous factors, because if it was COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war, we should all be at par because we are peers. Second, she says that, Russia-Ukraine war, that's the other factor. Look at the cost of food items in Ghana. I mean, we can say perhaps things like sugar, rice, wheat, barley that we import. What of cassava? What of plantain? What of millet? Do we import them from external countries? Even if we do, is it not our neighbors in West Africa? So why is it that the cost of living, the cost of food has gone up? Look at fuel. Hitherto, it was the case that Ghanaians smuggled fuel into neighboring countries, including Burkina Faso. It is now the reverse. The Burkinabes are now smuggling fuel into Ghana. If it is the case, why is it that diesel is not also 14, the equivalent of 14 Ghana cedis in Burkina Faso? You see, when we say that we are where we are as a result of bad economic management, the gross incompetence and barefaced unbridled corruption, we can demonstrate that. Let's take the Auditor General's report as an example. And I'm not going to go to 2020. Let's look at 2021. For public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions, a colossal amount of 17.4 billion cannot be accounted for. This was a spike from 2020, which was 12.8 billion. Ideally, shouldn't it be coming down in terms of the levels of monies that cannot be accounted for? But it is going up. How do you give away $2 million supposedly to help finance or to become a shareholder
in a SkyTrain project where feasibility studies had not been done. And as we speak, that money is not in the coffers of Ghanaians. Is that not a bad policy? Why would a government decide to bloat ministries, departments, and agencies, and even the presidency, where we had ministries where they had 5 ministers? Remember, we had the minister for Agri. He had 2 deputies. We had another one, so there was annual crops, perennial crops, animals, and what have you. Think about the numbers of people who were doing duplicated jobs, and they were all paid. And guess what? Although, in this second term, which was procured under, conditions that I find unwholesome, we have come to accept it. There was this, public pretense of reducing the numbers. They have found another way of increasing the numbers, and they have pushed them to the presidency and as PROs and as special aides. So they pretended as if they were cutting down the number of ministers and deputy ministers. No. And all of them who previously served in those capacities, they were paid, quote unquote, ex gratia. Each of them was paid. And the current group that are there, they are being paid with all the emoluments, and when they are done, they'll be paid again. Planning for food and jobs was tacked upon. Fantastic idea. Money that we had obtained from the Canadians to invest in the agri sector. We didn't have the time to do it. We left. So when they came, there was money. They said they were going to do planning for food and jobs. We saw how that has ended. Not only have huge quantities of fertilizers been carried across the borders by donkeys, but we even know of instances where Kia trucks have been impounded at Paga at many of our border posts. Till date, how many people have been held accountable? How many prosecutions have happened? Who were those who were in charge of the depots? Who knew that those who were coming to cut these fertilizers were not going to supply them to farmers in Builsa South, Builsa North, Nadoli Kalio, but were going to cross the border and yet continue to give them those quantities of fertilizer? Inside job. Party here, Sika. Is that a good policy? One village, one dam. I am from the Savannah zone, and I can tell you that all the dams that they claim to have dug in Builsa South, 10 of them, not one of them is even holding water. They were washed away even before they were completed. Colossal waste of money. 250,000 each. But according to the then minister for, I think the ministry
Special Development Initiatives.
What a ministry. to specially develop what? What initiative? Nothing. Those monies were squandered. The quality of the work was shabby. They destroyed farmlands. The locals and the chiefs had even complained that even in the dry season, these seasonal ponds, as I call them, seasonal ponds, could not really hold water for livestock, let alone to do dry season farming. Is that a good policy? You came and our debt stock was 120 billion. In just the span of about 6 years, you have increased it to about 400 billion. And what do you have to show for it? Even your own flagship projects and programs and activities that you have said you are going to defend no matter what, including the Free State High Schools policy. The kids are starving. They are not getting sufficient food to eat. Parents are contributing. Old boys and girls are contributing. And yet you've borrowed. You are the only government that has had colossal resources at your disposal in the history of this republic. Revenues alone that have accrued to the Nanado Baumia MPP government is about 500 billion plus what they have borrowed. What have they done with those monies? What they were doing was to distribute the money to their PCs, to buy votes. We all know about the Felicia story. Has the IMF boss not heard all of these? Is she not aware of this blatant giveaway in the form of tax waivers for friends, family, concubines? Has she not read about the president's in-law being given a humongous tax waiver to build a plush hotel in the airport area? Have they not heard about what is going on in the ports, where annually we lose not less than 18 billion. For the tax waivers annually, we don't lose less than 5 billion. Has she not read about La Bianca, a sitting member of the Council of State, a director of GPHA, board member, using her influence, a financier of the NPP, a known associate of the current president? Is that a good policy? So you see, it is sad that we work ourselves to an extent where even foreigners don't respect us. Because if we had kept faith with ourselves and our people, if we had done what they give us power to do, I don't think we would even go to this institution for this, director, or whatever you call it, managing director, to try and embellish. But then again, I'm not surprised, because I read what Dr. Amakuba wrote, that clearly Akufo-Addo has been able to corrupt even the World Bank. Is it the IMF? The IMF, yeah. To corrupt the IMF. Because with all of these facts available to you, how can you say that we are where we are as a result of exogenous factors? In fact, COVID brought revenue to this government that hitherto the government didn't have access to. Is it good policy to collapse banks that you could have fixed with about 11, at most 11 billion? You spent 25 billion to collapse banks. Is it good policy? Nobody put a gun to your head. You did that voluntarily. These are what the issues that we are talking about. And that is why we are on our knees. The blatant and barefaced corruption, it is obvious. I'm out to say it. Even the one who was supposed to be in charge of PPA and had the responsibility of ensuring that sole source contracts didn't see the light of day so that we can save the public purse, he himself is now undergoing investigation and I believe trial for using his office to profit at the expense of the taxpayer. Who appointed that man? Do I have to give you more examples? No, doc. Of the corruption, barefaced, the opulence? Is it good policy that our president would charter private jets, hopping from one European metropolis to the next, when we are feeding our wards in basic school at a rate of 97 pesos a day? The IMF boss, where she comes from, would they accept that their president should be chartering private jets, luxurious private jets, so he can bathe in the sky when he has his own private jet provided by the state? Would she accept that? Is that good policy? No. Would she accept that the taxpayers' money should be invested in a personally pledged, lice-driven cathedral without recourse to parliament? Is that good policy? So she should give us a break. And I don't blame her. We to injure and kill and maim ourselves. And then we go to them to seek redress. And they can wade in just to try and assuage those in power. But no Ghanaian is going to be fooled. Neither the IMF, the World Bank, whatever international body is going to change the narrative. Ghanaians are fully aware of the facts. They know where they were before. They know where they are now. And they see, as Kwesi Pratt would say, feely, nagini, about what is going on, which accounts for where we are. So I am in total disappointment, and I want to caution her to stay away. If she is going to speak, she should be honest to the facts on the ground. Ghana does not belong to Akufo-Addo and Bawumia and MPP. We are all, they are seeking it for all of us. But yes, they are responsible for where we are, and that they cannot run away from.
Thank you, Doc. A few messages. This is from Kwame Bright Battle. Says, from the insistence of Ken of Oyata on meeting, the IMF praised Ghana's economic management under Nanado. And I agree fully with Dr. Amwakuba and Nanado corrupted the IMF woman too. God will unseat them. This is coming from Maria Adam. Says, Sena, the so-called devil Ukraine is able to supply some African countries with food in this difficult time of bombing. Bernard George says, at the ministry, we have a director of finance
and someone was brought from Data Bank to the ministry as the Director of Financial Services. The question is, what is the person's role? At the end, he will be paid rather. Can't deviate from the Western propaganda to blame Russia. So he's just flaring propaganda in the interest of IMF Western shareholders. Solo.
So, in the days leading to the 2020 election, we'll give them a field day to do their Galamsey if they had the opportunity of coming to power. Let's set the record straight. The videos are available, and Doc must
Is there a story you can share with us?
Oh yeah, I'll share it with you. I'll share the video. No, the videos is an open secret. I mean, I'm wondering. No, I will send it to you after the program. No, I will send it to you. It tells you that yes, I have evidence. You know, any day I will show you, I will give it to you. I'm very surprised as to what has happened a while ago. Christian good credence about this country, and you have Ghanaian saying no, our situation is worse. Then it means this country needs a national agenda. It cannot be that on the altar of politics, we would always want to present this country. IMF boss said, what is so inaccurate about it? In fact, somewhere in April of 2022, when former President John Mahama had an opportunity of speaking to the Africa Business Conference organized by the Harvard University, what did he say? He, in fact, enumerated why Ghana should have to go back to the IMF and attributed our woes to the COVID and the Ukraine invasion. So then, in the USA, he said that all that he added was the fact that apart from the COVID and Ukraine, there are other factors, including over-borrowing or excessive borrowing and also corruption. But he explicitly said that our problems today is likely to do with COVID and Ukraine. At that time, I did not hear the NDC, and for that matter, my brother, come out to say that, oh, it's not true. COVID has not done anything. Because where he spoke, where the former president spoke, he couldn't have said anything otherwise. We all know the impact or the effects of Ukraine, and for that matter, COVID as well, on the economy of this country. And so when someone is telling us or saying good things about our country, it is for all of us to know that we have a national agenda, and the agenda is to promote the goodness of this country. I mean, my brother was talking about we being surrounded by Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina, and they doing better. I'm not too sure he has engaged Ivorians, Burkinabes in the far. It's not a good time for anybody to be existing on this world. We are all going through problems emanating from this COVID. I'm very surprised that he was able to jump to the 2021 Auditor General's report when he had told us that they are now even looking at the 2019 before going to 2020, and to be able to arrive at a conclusion that monies have been embezzled to the tune of 17 billion.
But I have the report.
The report does not speak to the actual fact, and that is why you go through it, and you are yet to settle. If I am even someone mentioned in the report, I would call for you to abstain yourself from the report, because before you even go into the report, you have criticized or drawn conclusion. If people are owing the electricity company, if you go into the report into details, you would realize that you and I are even contributing to the huge debt by not paying our electricity bills, and for which reason each is unable to pay Greco, and Greco unable to pay. The woman spoke truth. Ukraine has had a dilapidating effect on our economy. The inflation levels we have in this country, the 31.7% or so is up. It's about fuel and transportation. Fuel prices keep skyrocketing. But for Russia, Ukraine, we are not experiencing the erratic nature of fuel pricing. Output prices of goods and services to be increasing. You know, for the past 2 years or 3 years, freight alone, anybody that imports into this country knows that the freight cost has increased by almost 1,000%. So when you import and then you pay huge freight, is it not going to be passed on to the final consumer? I am not too sure the country is not producing enough plantain and cassava. The foodstuffs are available.
But when you produce the foods, that's what is leading to it. And when it happens like that, government has not much to do with it. I mean, if government had a way of dashing everybody fuel, it would not occasion an increment in food. The woman is untruthful because she said something that agrees to the position of the MPP. Would a woman have been truthful if she said that, oh, our wounds are as a result of bad propaganda? Not even the MPP. The woman specifically mentioned the name of Ghana. Yet we have our brothers who claim to love this country so much. Upset. I can't get it. Look, in 2014, when the NDC was going to the IMF, the president then, what did he tell the people of this country? In fact, in Washington, he granted an interview. He told the whole world that our going back to the IMF was not as a result of bad policies. But there,
it was actually falling.
It was falling, and so we couldn't. Yes, you are right, and that we were not generating much needed revenue from the oil fields, and so revenue, there was a shortfall in revenue. But
gold prices so down.
Well, but you see, you had the benefit. When President Kufuor came to rule this country, he didn't have the benefit of your crude. Revenue from crude, yet he managed this country well. So then former President John Mahama had no business whatsoever. IMF confirmed his position that yes, it was not due to bad policies, but external shocks. And if today the same IMF, and don't forget IMF is an institution, this woman will go, in fact Christian Lagarde was there, she left and she has come, she will also go. If institution is being consistent, why must we be angry? Because they said something positive about the MPP, which factors John Mahama himself had echoed in April to go to the IMF. What was the singing in this country? Our brothers were urging it. They were urging us to go to the IMF. You know why we brought the e-levy? He is in Parliament. He knows very well that the idea of bringing the e-levy was to prevent us from going back to the IMF. They said no. They will not allow Ghanaians to pay. They fought and fought for the first time in the history of this country that a ruling party that knows that a country is governed by taxation, taxes that are granted the government for realizing more revenue from taxation. And so we were left with no other option. Having done that, they themselves came back to us to encourage us to go to the IMF. As though the IMF was there, encouraging us to go, is telling us the very thing that we have been telling the people of this country, that our problems are largely to do with COVID and Ukraine. Now they say no, she should stay out of our business. This country, they entertain that, but rather we must entertain negativity. And there I remember again what former President John Mahama said in 2014, that there is too much negativity in the system, that we are quick, serious or bad situation with our situation. We don't want to hear good news. But he is also leading the same crusade. He that advised that we must not be projecting this country in a bad light, he is the one leading. Agree with the position of the New Patriotic Party. It's all about politics. Our difficulties today as a result of COVID. Look, he's in Parliament, he knows that in 2020, we could not generate more. That is a gap of 26 billion. IMF, how much, or during COVID, how much did we realize? When the Minister of Finance went to Parliament, we were made to believe, and nobody has challenged now, that 18 billion. So where did we get the money? We did not have any excess money during COVID, except that they have been told a lie, led by former President John Mahama, when he said that Ghana realized 33 billion. So yes, as a government, we are not interested. In fact, it took a great deal of pain to go back to the IMF. IMF is not a good place for this country. IMF is not where you can prepare growth. But because we have over and over again told the people of this country that our balance of payment position is weakened, and we need to stabilize the economy, and for that matter, we need hard-earned dollar to stabilize it. Hence the decision to go back to the IMF. It's a temporary measure, and that is how come, if you look at the various policies and programs the government is rolling out, it is to deal with the gorgeous bank economy that he's talking about. Fortunately, our first topic was about gold. What are we doing with our resource center? That's why we have come up with the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation. The idea is to be able to convert the raw material into a finished product. Why did we come up with a one district, one factory? It's to expand the base of the economy. Why are we coming up with a petrochemical industry? Why are we trying to develop the pharmaceutical industry? We all acknowledge that the base, the foundation of this economy is to nonetheless we convert it into what we call a finished product. But you ask my brothers, I was hoping to hear any policy direction, and that is very synonymous with our brothers from the other side of the political. They don't give any solution. They don't give any policy alternatives. All they do is that lamentations. The only real call things that we are trying to deal with as a country. When we have dealt with the issues and we are seeking the support of the Ghanaian, they always want to fight against good policies. He touched briefly that all of us must support if there is the need to review it so that people can have access to education. Then it has to be supported. Nobody says you should cancel it. You didn't believe in that policy in the first place. So we don't trust you when you say we must review it. It is those of us that brought it that knows the importance of saving parents. I have asked the Ministry of Education to begin to issue receipts to parents, so that parents would actually know how much they were supposed to pay and how much government is paying for them to know how much they are enjoying under the policy. So, Sena, the woman was apt, was spot on. IMF believes in what we are doing. We are likely to close a deal by the close of the year, but that is not the solution. That expand the base of the economy, and also going forward, make sure Ghanaians take the destiny of this economy into our own hands and not into the hands of other persons. But maybe I may not have the opportunity of speaking again because of time constraints. Alexander Nkegbe Podunu, Wet Belinda Titiki Ako Atashama. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. I wish them the best of luck. Now I end it here.
Since you mentioned the former president, he actually posted on his Facebook page in response to what the IMF boss said. So this is what I'm reading from paragraph 4. So the incontrovertible fact is that Ghana is in a mess due to the bad policies. Consider these facts and not just ignore them, lest they make wrong diagnosis and prescribe inappropriate remedies. The consequences of the government's ill-advised policies, such as both insensitive and dubious course in closing down locally COVID-19 funds, unconventional borrowing practices riddled with opaqueness and conflicts of interest, resulting in an unsustainable debt envelope, costly, experimental and untested programs, etc., cannot be ignored in understanding the current dire state of the Ghanaian economy. So those
he says it cannot be ignored.
Yeah.
He says it cannot. So go back and listen to what he said when he delivered a lecture at the Harvard Business Africa Business Conference. What he said and how he expatiated on the COVID and Ukraine effect or impact on the economy of this country. So you see, you cannot go to America and say one thing, and when the IMF boss is also restating the position that you espouse, you say why is international diplomacy?
The IMF boss was clear. She said it was not due to bad policies. Former President Mahama disagrees that you cannot take out the bad policies. They are part of the problem.
But what the former president says is not bad policies. Which one is that? He was not able to tell. Where is the corruption coming from? Just saying corruption doesn't mean anything.
Let me give a few messages from some of our
the one
viewers. This one is coming from
Facebook. Any evidence?
Dennis Akweti says, on IMF and his comments on Ghana's economy, linking it solely to external factors such as COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war without touching on the unprecedented profligacy and corruption witnessed under the Nanado-led government. No problem, for it is just a matter of time. They will certainly make U-turn and let us know the exact length of the frog after its demise, as they had always done in the past, except to add that it is about time the IMF cured itself of the self-imposed duplicity and naivety. Williams Doji Pedo Jr. says, the IMF has never said anything contradictory to the standards of any government when it comes to countries who go to
them for bailout. They always stood the stance of government when it comes to public relations, yet in the documents they know the truth. Refer to all public relations on what IMF said in relation to what caused any country who seek for a bailout from them. Let me go to Mr. Nii Yarboi Annan, because this showed me Article 4 reports from the IMF 2019, 2020, 2021, where they raised copious issues about our debts. Nii Yarboi.
Well, look, we need to look at the IMF critically. And so I will do something here. This is the IMF president, Mr. Collier, admitted that the fund surveillance of potential problem areas had been faulty. This was in 2002. Another incident. Internal document leaked, published on the Wall Street Journal, marked strictly confidential. And it was quoted in there that it badly underestimated the damage that its prescription of austerity will do to Greece's economy. This was 5th June 2013. It is also a fact that during all this period, Christine Lagarde, also an IMF chief, had gone out there to say that the Greek economy is sustainable when it comes to its debt, and that they are able or will be able to repay. We all know today what happened with Greece. 6 years of austerity due to bad prescriptions from those bad prescriptions stem from faulty diagnosis of the issue. So it is not new. It is certainly not new that an IMF director or an IMF boss for a particular country or whatever will give a wrong diagnosis of whatever is happening here. But you know what? I don't believe in somebody telling the Ghanaian story better than the Ghanaian. That logic, that kind of inferiority complex has to leave us, because they are not superior minds. Now, is the Ghanaian challenge external, purely external? I will say no. Because between 2013 to 2016, we had budget deficit consistently hovering around 8 billion. In 2016, it was 8.41 billion. In 2017, when this government took office, budget deficit in the first year was 13 billion. By 2020, it was 44 billion. Sena, myself and you have had these conversations. And it is also proper to look at just the recent IMF visitation and what they had said in their communique. And I want to read. The discussions focused on improved fiscal balances in a sustainable way whilst protecting the vulnerable and poor, ensuring credibility of the monetary policy. Now, if you have diagnosed somebody of malaria, yet you said the cause of the malaria was acquired through sex. You yourself, you have diagnosed somebody. You said you have malaria. But further went on to say that the malaria I have gotten was due to a sex I had. What does that tell me about you? And that is the situation we find ourselves in. If there hasn't been a failure in our physical balances, we wouldn't be where we are. Have we had an impact on COVID Ukraine? Yes. That is the fact. But prior to this, read all the budgets that preceded COVID. We have been told by the finance minister that our economy was robust. I think under the MPP, there is a new dictionary all of us have to go and buy. Because the dictionaries we have in our homes, reviews does not mean cancellation. Certainly, robust does not mean weak. But we are being given a new meaning to almost every word. You have been reckless. Your physical policies have all failed. We were in this country. You took down our banks. The banks were run on and they failed. These same banks, you owe them so much as government. Yet, what happened? You went on when you had no business to collapse the bank, sold part of those banks, and even paid a negative goodwill to GCB. We are not told the profit from those actions that you took. As we sit here, because 2 of the banks were given to GCB. Is GCB making profit out of the monies that government paid GCB to take on those banks? How much profit? We should know. The so-called good assets of these banks you collapsed, how have you managed those assets? The vehicles, the fixed assets, the PPEs are wasting by doing nothing with it. The consolidated bank, show us the profit, justify yourself. You destroy the financial sector. You came to the agric sector. And that one, the Obutu. You have messed up all the physical regime that is supposed to make us robust and sustainable. Yet, all that COVID and Ukraine did was to quicken us to the slaughterhouse, which we had taken the path already. No matter what would have happened or did not happen or whatever, this situation we were in was bound to happen unless we are looking at figures different from what they are looking at in terms of the IMF. But in any case, what is the IMF interest? Is their interest for Ghana to win itself away from some of these actions and inactions of our fiscal policies so that we will not have to fall on them? or their interest is the gain to the fund. That pays the very people speaking and telling us the cause of these issues. Now, if it is only about external factors, then the prescription should have been our monetary policies. Should have solved it. If the flow of capital into this country had stopped, let's find out why. The BOD have increased the NPR rate by almost 500 basis points. What has changed? Nothing. Almost 25% of our local bonds are engaging by foreign entities. And in bad times such as this, they will not repatriate cedis to their country. They will repatriate dollars. In fact, the Bank of International Settlement had said back in 2016 that every day the foreign exchange market is worth over 5.1 trillion. Bigger than any GDP on this planet. Because the entire GDP of this planet is about 75 trillion. And we are talking about 1,860 trillion dollars in terms of the exchange market alone, which is not productive. The convenience of me getting an article from the US, and for that matter, I need a reserve currency or an international currency for that matter to be able to satisfy that convenience. It's costing this world 5.1 trillion a day. Therefore, if any nation needs to tackle its economy, it must clearly be done by making sure that its currency is sound. And that is not external. That cannot be external. That has never been external. And Uncle Kwesi Pratt has mentioned the Russian example. Until recently, I'm sure most of us did not even know the Russian currency, the name of the Russian currency. Today, it has become a popular currency. Today, Russia can afford to close the taps on Europe. Why? Because of internal actions, not external. So, I will ask this question.
And then learn from me on that.
Yes. Which IMF pronouncement has led us to any success apart from being failures? And here.
Mr. Pratt, thank you. Thank you, Nii.
You know, about 12 years ago, maybe a little more, I visited an African head of state. Now, I entered the presidential palace quietly. There were no media men, nothing. And we went into a conversation. In the middle of the conversation, having learnt what I was saying and so on, the president instructed his secretary to invite the media. So by the time I came out of the meeting, the media was waiting outside, and I spoke. It is interesting how this IMF managing director came to make those statements. You know, we were told that the meeting was behind closed doors. Very significant. And after the closed door meetings, the doors were opened for the IMF managing director to speak to the media. Do you see the similarities? It is what happened behind closed doors, which led to what happened outside closed doors. Very significant. The declarations came after the closed door meeting. When the doors were opened after the closed door meetings.
Say what had been decided.
It is significant. Very, very significant. What happened behind those closed doors? What happened behind those closed doors to give the confidence for the Ghanaian media to talk to the IMF managing director? I don't know. I don't know what happened. But certainly something happened.
But you did not know.
I don't know.
You are not there.
Exactly. I don't know. But certainly something happened. Okay. Now, I don't suppose that any rational person can come to the conclusion that if you are an IMF managing director, you are God. You don't make mistakes. Everything you say is sacrosanct and so on. I don't think that any rational person can come to that conclusion. So the managing director of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is like all of us. Perhaps even some of us may be better educated than she is. Perhaps even some of us may be in a position to apply more common sense than she does, and so on. These are all facts. So why is it that what the IMF managing director has said is the gospel? It is not gospel. Besides, Ghana has been to the International Monetary Fund for rescue 17 times already. It didn't work. Now, if you've been to the International Monetary Fund 17 times already, it didn't work. How does what they say matter? They have failed us 17 times. Yesterday, I was doing a fact check on Sri Lanka, which has the worst performing currency. They are the bottom. Ghana is second from the bottom. Okay?
Our neighbors.
Our neighbors in Ghana. No.
Is there any happiness to be had?
Now, Sri Lanka has also gone to the IMF. Sri Lanka, like Ghana, has also been to the IMF 17 times. Is that not interesting? Yeah. That the two bottom countries have all gone to IMF 17 times. And every time they go, the prescription doesn't work. 17 times. So I'm not fascinated, I'm not excited about what the IMF managing director says. It is useless. Doesn't resolve our problem, doesn't give us hope, nothing. So in any case, the IMF managing director actually believes that the robust economies of the world, which have strength that people should emulate and so on, are the two bottom countries. Hey, Jack. Hey! I am not managing director, what is this? There are two bottom countries, bottom countries. Resilient, robust, and so on. Maybe we are not speaking the same language. I assume that she spoke English.
Yes.
But it's appearing that she didn't speak English at all. She spoke another language. Robust. Bottom country. Robust. Hey, IMF Managing Director. What is this? Why do you embarrass yourself like this? In any case, I was listening to one of these young communicators in the course of the week, and he came up with a brilliant explanation. In fact, a defense of the IMF Managing Director. I thought it was the most classic defense. He said that, look, we are in trouble. We have gone to the IMF. The reason for going to the IMF is that the IMF should clean us up, okay? So that international lenders and investors can do business with us. That's why we have gone to the IMF. So how does this IMF, which is supposed to clean us up, so that international agencies and so on can deal with us and give us some small money and so on, now come and say these are very bad handlers of the economy. They don't know nothing and so on. How can that, is that possible? And this young man equated a situation to somebody who has committed murder and hired a lawyer. You expect the lawyer to say that this my client is very wicked, very vicious. As for this my client, if you joke with him, he will kill you right now. It's not possible. So what the IMF Managing Director did was not unexpected. Indeed, it was expected of somebody, a relationship between a client and, what do they say? Sometimes my English fails me. You know, a client and the what? Clientele. You know it. Right. So it is not strange. You understand? It is not strange at all. But you see, we are depending on international organizations for credibility. So what the IMF Managing Director says becomes important. It finds space on the front page of the graphic and so on. What about what the World Bank country representative said? The Bretton Woods institutions, the twin institutions, are the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The World Bank says that this claim that the Ukrainian war and COVID are responsible for Ghana's economic headaches are not true, and that the signs were seen long ago. Why did that not also feature on the front pages and so on? Why did that not feature? The twin organizations, World Bank and International Monetary Fund, they are called the Bretton Woods institutions. Why did that not feature? In any case, we in Ghana, we should be telling our story, as he said. Who knows our story better than us? We know it. I bet you, the IMF Managing Director has never bought kinky fish and pepper in Bukum before. Has she? If she were to go to Bukum and buy kinky and fish, she would know that today you can't get 5 cedis fish to buy. And we are in September. August is the bumper fishing season. Yeah. Why? A friend of mine went to buy kinky and said, oh, they should give him 5 cedis fish. They want to say, hey, where are you coming from? We don't sell 5 cedis fish anymore. Okay? This is an experience which is uniquely Ghanaian. This is an experience which tells the Ghanaian economic story. She would never know. So she can talk the things that she's talking. I didn't want to say by heart. You understand? She doesn't know.
That's coming.
Yes, she doesn't know. Do you blame her? Don't blame her. And some of the things that she said, maybe as Jesus Christ. Listen, we said that we have a food problem because of the Russia-Ukraine war. When we have 70% of the arable lands in the world. Now, if you have 70% of the arable lands in the world, and you are complaining that Ukraine is not feeding you, something must be wrong with you. 70%, not 50, 70. Not 40. 70% of the arable lands in the world are in Africa. And we are foolish enough to look the world in the face and to say that we are hungry because Ukraine didn't bring us food. You have 70% of the arable land. Unbelievable. We had this experience with COVID-19. The finance minister goes to parliament and actually from his own mouth, I think he's a horse's own mouth, that's not the English expression, yes. Horse's own mouth. In the English expression, the finance minister is also a horse, the horse's own mouth. You understand? From the horse's own mouth, we spend less than what we got to fight COVID. So COVID actually gave us trouble money. Trouble money. COVID gave us trouble money. Now the thing that gives you trouble money is a problem. How is that a problem? We got more money than we actually spent on COVID. So where is the problem coming from? I can't believe it.
What a balance. That one needed to be used in other areas. And COVID budget.
Agree. We got so much money from COVID that we actually use some in other areas.
Which was not enough.
And then we said that COVID is the problem. How is COVID the problem? Something was wrong with our calculation. The horse didn't get it right.
That is not out of COVID.
You see, Masha, so that is a huge problem. And then, beautiful, elegant woman with a big post in the International Monetary Fund, managing director. She opens her mouth and this is what she says. What is happening? And when I saw a picture of the woman, I said, what? What a beautiful woman. Not knowing that the beauty is only in the look. When she opened her mouth, foul, you dodge. What is this? I mean, the thing is so bad, her statement is so horrible, that now it is not only opposition parties who are punching holes in what she said. Leading campaigners of the New Patriotic Party, leading advocates of the New Patriotic Party are coming forward and saying that, this woman, no, don't do that to us. We are not dummies. Dr. Amakuba, who doesn't know Dr. Amakuba? Political scientist from the University of Science and Technology. Did you read the statement?
Yeah.
What? I read the statement, I said, what is this? Even the NDC cannot do better than this. And he actually believes that behind the closed doors, what happened was more serious than what I think. Hey! Dr. Makuba,
I'm reading the story.
And he's an MPP man, NPP campaigner. He says, no, that closed door meeting, something there inside. Like Jedubu Ambule used to say.
Waiting day
there. Something day there.
The LDC today is bastardizing the harvest. Maybe
bastardizing this.
That's
on the woman.
Yeah, please, because I'm past my time.
So, Masa, Dr. Makuba says something did there. Ragumuzo, something did there. Hey, Ghana, what is this?
The woman is not Ghanaian. The woman is not Ghanaian.
That is the most important statement you have made. She doesn't know. Does she know that cement is now selling at almost 80 cedis a bag? She doesn't know.
We were telling you, say you wouldn't believe, and a foreigner confirms. That is a problem.
Yo, Masa, wait till I go talk. Let's take it like that and move forward. Managing Director of IMF, red salute for you, madam. Let's go forward.
Well, we have to bring this to a close. Just a few messages. This one is from Raya David Ametepe, who says the MPP man there is doing great. His ability to soak the pressure of making sense out of senseless situation is commendable. You see the policy alternatives exist, and NDC would have done better by sheer prudence.
Sena,
yeah.
Solo is becoming a master of his game. I mean, his ability to douse the flames, no matter how high the flames are, is incredible.
Even I'm impressed.
No, I'm always impressed by Solo. But the point is that all these gymnastics don't change the reality. The gymnastics, after doing all the gymnastics, the reality is still there.
Well, this is PAC Santos says, and IMF interest is to deepen our woes by promising what we have not asked for. $3 billion instead of $2 billion we asked for. Indeed, there will be a semblance of roads, hospitals, schools, etc. being rehabilitated to show up Nanado's political image and in the end leave the next administration in economic throes. This is Eric Yao on Facebook. Sena is important.
Sena, I forgot something which is very important. When I read the report from the closed door meeting, not the open door meeting, the closed door meeting, the report from there, this IMF managing director is saying that, oh, by December everything will be ready. But in the same report, he says that Ghana has not even presented a proposal yet. Hey. So if they don't know the proposal, how do they come to the conclusion that by December it will be?
I was reading this message from Eric who says, and it's important that Solomon Owusu realizes that he's not talking to ignorant people. Ghana is not the only country that was affected by COVID. In fact, if Ghana had been hit by COVID the way the UK was hit, the country would not have survived. He should call a spade a spade. The MPP has grossly mismanaged the Ghanaian economy. He can behave like an ostrich and hide his head in the sand. The Russia-Ukraine war affects the UK and European countries much worse than Ghana. Does Ghana buy gas from Russia? You should spare us this kind of talk, please. We should be serious. That's coming from America. And that's how we conclude the show today. Thank you very much for making time. So,
The real Founders Day is coming up. That's September 21st. We shall be observing the real Founders Day. And the celebrations start on September 20th, I think it's a Tuesday, with a placard parade on the High Street, now Professor Atamil's High Street, from the Black Star Square all the way to the Bank of Ghana. Placard parade. It's not a demonstration. It's a placard parade. A placard parade where activists just stand. They don't move and they raise their placards to tell their story. Then on the day itself, which is September 21st, there will be the usual public forum at the headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. And it will be chaired by a very distinguished lady, Professor Ikuya Bichum of the University of Cape Coast. And understand that Professor Raymond Atugua has also agreed to be one of the speakers. I have also been invited to speak, so I will speak. So this is the program for Founders Day. And I thought that it was just necessary to announce it.
The real Founders Day. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, well, that was
our capitalist invited.
My producers just alerted me that 20th is actually Wednesday.
21st.
20th is Wednesday.
Okay,
yeah.
fine.
And
so it starts on the Wednesday and ends on the Thursday.
So do take notes. That's the 21st is the birthday of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It used to be celebrated as the Founders Day nationally. Now I hear it's a commemoration.
No, it's not a commemoration.
No.
For us, it's the real Founders Day.
Yes. I'm saying that on the national calendar now it's a commemoration.
So forget that calendar.
But
that calendar will be reinstated.
Well, so do take notes. Do take notes. Like Mr. Pratt said, condolences to Dr. Sian Ejapon,
yes,
who is the group CEO of the company, and he lost his father, and the father's burial service, I think, is ongoing. It should still be ongoing currently. They are burying him today, and so condolences to him. And thank you very much for making time to join us on the show today. We're live from the studios of Pan-African Television. Was live on Radio Gold. And then let me say a big thank you to my panel for today. It was a pleasure seeing Mr. Pratt in the morning. Saturday morning, he is the General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Sitting beside him is financial analyst Nii Yarboi Annan, who joined us this morning. And of course, Mr. Solomon Owusu, who is a member of the MPP's communication team. And sitting close to me, someone I haven't seen in a while. Wonderful to see you this morning. Dr. Clement Apak, always on the move because of the Public Accounts Committee. He's a member and they have been looking into the Auditor General's report. You're almost done in 2019, right?
Yes, we have Zone 4 to finish 2019.
Okay,
and
then
we
move to 2020.
2020.
Okay, there's a lot to hear from what happened in 2020, the election year. My name is Sena Nombo. We are back same time next week with another edition of the show. A big thank you to all our affiliate stations.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and